Okay, hey guys, what's up? So just to give you guys a forewarning, the Discord, the overlay kit is not working, the website, so you're not going to be able to see who's talking. However, if you want to join the Discord or whatnot, a link to that is going to be in the description. It is not my internet, as you can obviously see. It is their actual website, which is really freaking weird. I don't know what's going on with it. I had trouble with it last week too. But anyway, so we're going to take a turn and focus on Article 13 tonight, as it has passed. We're gonna go over like some articles and just kind of refresh people as to what Article 13 and 11 mean. And what that might entail, and just go over that sort of thing. So how are you doing there, Ichabod?
I'm doing all right. Been having some breathing troubles, but aside from that, I'm doing okay.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're doing good besides the medical stuff. The breathing stuff, is
Yeah.
it asthma related or is it just...
It's long-term issue. Not asthma, but long-term.
Ooh. Alright, so to give you guys a refresher, like I said, go over what Article 13 is. Hello, Echo Whisper, and then we have Jamesy, Anubis. We have a couple people. Got 5 watchers. So I have a PDF. Ichabod went and found a PDF. I have a few articles we're gonna go over. Behave. Stream TV. Okay, so this isn't too terribly long. If you guys want to follow along, the link to the PDF is in the description. This is just like a few pages. Ichabod, do you have the PDF opened on your end, or?
Yeah, I got it open.
Okay, so I take it you've already been through the PDF.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just kick down to like the proposal. Golly, yeah, they really break this down. I'll let
Yeah.
you take it from here because you've been through this PDF and I have not been through it yet. So
Okay, so as a description of Article 13, basically it's a copyright act. So paragraph 1, sentence 1, part 1. Information society service providers that store and provide to the public access to large amounts of works or other subject matter uploaded by their users. Here's what the description they've given is. The concept of information society service provider is too broad and would cover an almost unlimited number of online services. The Commission appears to have chosen this complicated wording as a way of not saying hosting provider, an activity protected by the e-commerce directive. Hosting covers any service, cloud storage, hosting a website, hosting a blog, etc. The wording store and provide to the public access implies that the intermediary is a publisher and would therefore be liable for all infringements of all law that may be committed by their users. This is confirmed by Recital 38. This would overturn the approach taken in the EU for the entire history of the internet and abandon international best practice. The impact of making the internet hosting providers liable for activities about which they have no knowledge would be huge. It would, in reality, require both extensive monitoring of everything uploaded to the internet and deletion of any communications that generated a legal risk for the provider. This would result in a huge chilling effect on freedom of expression and massive corporate censorship, undermining innovation and competition. Web hosting is storage of content with the purpose of this being available to the public. It's clear from CJEU case law that this is settled legal understanding of hosting in the e-commerce directive, C-360/10, for example. The attempted redefinition of this activity is in this directive, most notably in Recital 38, seeks to overturn or ignore such case law.
So if you could summarize that for
basically it opens a huge legal it's basically a legal knife in the concept of freedom of expression. Let's say you wanted to do something like a parody of a song. This would make that parody of that song. If you use the let's just say you use a version of the song with no music or no words, And even if you reproduce the music yourself, it still falls under what this law would be able to not only fine, but remove. In order for like web service providers, like let's say YouTube, Cloud, blogs, websites, in order for them to host that sort of stuff, to make sure that they have themselves covered legally, they would have to take down anything that could be even possibly considered copyright infringement, which would as well include things like parody and educational reporting. So if you've ever watched a documentary that was passed into the public domain, in the EU, that's now not legal. You can not only be fined, but potentially imprisoned for it.
Yeah, which isn't really good. I do know, because I don't know if this is going to cover... Get down from there. Wait. I don't know if they're going to make this carry over to internet service providers, because I will give an example. There's an internet service provider in Illinois that does act like a big brother, and if they catch you downloading specific stuff, say like you download something from Pirate Bay, or you download a cracked program or video, whatever, and it picks up on their radar, they do send you a notification, because it's happened to me and my husband twice, and they can see what's scary is about this ISP, this particular one, is they can see what's on your computer, what files you have, and they tell you to delete it, or they'll take further action. You have like 30 to 60 days to respond. Hold on. Get down. So I don't know if this is going to carry over also to ISPs. I mean, I could see it happening. But just to take away any usage of copyrighted materials for documentary purposes, educational. I understand. Go ahead.
That's covered in the next sentence.
Okay.
Like that sort of stuff.
Okay, well, let's kick down to paragraph 1, sentence 1, part 2 then.
Basically, providers shall, in cooperation with right holders, take measures to ensure the functioning of agreements concluded with right holders for the use of their works or other subject matter, or to prevent the availability on their services of works or other subject matter identified by right holders through the cooperation with service providers. Now, that's your ISP, your internet service provider.
Mm-hmm.
So here's their summary. The Commission does not mention which type of agreements it's referring to, nor is it clear which types of provider that are covered by this notion. The Commission proposal completely overturns the copyright enforcement system instead of respecting the clarifications and requirements of court ruling. The proposal rejects them completely. The requirements set by the CJEU are specifically designed to end and prevent infringements in a way which respects all rights, fundamental human rights, commercial rights, and the protection of intellectual property, IP rights, to an appropriate degree. This proposal would turn the established approach on its head. More problematic still is the wording that appears to be little more than a description of Google's Content ID filtering system, moving it from an ex post to an ex ante approach, and broadening its scopes in terms of the type of breach being addressed and the nature of the files, photo, text, video. In this system, legality in the context of legitimate parody, education, or quotation is irrelevant. Worse still, the measures could be understood as skirting around the edges of the CJEU, ruling by legitimizing and mandating the use of audible magic filtering software, which in the court of law, the Court of Justice explicitly said could not be mandated by law. The problems with Content ID, although the same analysis would apply to similar use of similar technologies, has been extensively researched by EDRI member, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which there is a link provided to that as well.
So I guess pretty much what they're saying here is it doesn't, if the Content ID that they want to implement or install, if the Content ID picks up any, say, audio matching or visual matching, it does not matter if it's parody, education, derivative, anything like that. It's just if it picks it up, it's gone. Do I have that correct?
Yeah. And it also includes text, so reading articles as well would be part of it. But basically what this is looking to do is completely remove the concept of fair use.
which in itself is kind of garbage because you have like so many mediums from painting to music to gaming that borrows each other's ideas and either parodies them, derivative work. So this could cripple a whole lot of creativity. It's going to go even as far as censorship because you're going to have a crackdown on what articles can be shared. Say like, because like we do article readings on this channel, and so I could get, well, I'm not part of the EU, but like any of my followers, because I do have some that are from the UK, Europe and whatnot who live in the European Union, if I use an article that's considered copyright infringement, they're not going to be able to see it unless they go to BitChute. Because I know...
Or if they use a VPN.
Well, see, that there's been talk about that, and people have been encouraging that, but I can see, because people are already kind of calling this, and I think Dave Cullen or Computing Forever mentioned this, is that the next thing they could go after is proxies and VPNs, which I can actually see that happening, because a VPN skirts around all those implications because it can stick your IP address in a completely different country. So with your IP address in a new area, it completely surpasses all of that legislation. So I can see them going after VPNs as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that that's their next step, is to go after the VPNs.
So yeah, that's actually kind of scary because that's how information is shared. And I tell you what, I've already had to kind of scrub my channel here and there and change formats. I won't even touch like anything that could be considered copyright. Anything royalty free. I'm even scared to use YouTube's own music because I've gotten hit 3 times with copyright claims. Like, no, stupid. This is from the Royal Library. Get out of here. Let's continue.
All right. Paragraph 1, sentence 2. Those measures, such as the use of effective content recognition technology, shall be appropriate and proportionate. Now, here's the problem with that. The use of content recognition technology is not on its own equal to the measures in the previous sentence. It appears that the Commission suggested that the provider find appropriate and proportionate solutions to avoid explicitly requiring the use of the technology that the Court of Justice has already rejected. Indeed, citizens' fundamental rights are entirely ignored in this provision. The section is objectionable on different levels. Number 1, the lack of clarity to where the responsibility lies when assessing whether the measures are effective, appropriate, or proportionate. And number 2, what does appropriate mean? From the recital 39, it appears to mean appropriate from the perspective of the right holders. The services should not be transparent towards the right holders with regard to the deployed technologies to allow assessment of their appropriateness. So basically what it's saying here is that the copyright holders define what's appropriate. So if you've just done, let's say, a parody of a song, or even just playing it yourself, playing a video game that's copyrighted by Nintendo can be hit now, can be hit under this EU law, and it's terrifying in a concept. But this is the time to come together and go against this law. Because it's horrifying in a way, and if we don't stop it in the EU, it could spread. It's like a virus; it can spread further, and we are all vulnerable right now.
Well, something too, like especially when it comes to Nintendo, because Nintendo has learned the hard way, and I think they kind of backed down a little bit because when people were doing gameplays of Nintendo games, they started to hit them, and I think they were hitting the fan art too, and a lot of fans started to do a backlash. And it's just like, hey, Nintendo, we're kind of advertising this stuff for you by showing the gameplay and the fan art. So Nintendo has backed down, and what that's really going to do is because they're not really thinking. I understand, like, you don't want your stuff to be infringed and possibly associated with certain things, but this is a double-edged sword because not only are you trying to prevent or censor the spreading of material to keep it from being copyrighted, but you're also kind of killing your own market because if your customers, your fans, your patrons, whatever, cannot spread that material further without getting hit or the possibility of it getting blacklisted, blocked out, whatever, you're going to kill your fan base and you're going to shrink your expansion of customers. And I don't think they see that because if you stifle how you grow, where your stuff is exposed to or the areas, you're going to lose customers. You're not going to be able to do anything more with the material because your fans and customers are going to be scared to freaking share it anywhere. So that this is the double-edged sword. It's like, well, we don't want to copyright it, but you're not allowed to share it. Okay, I'm not touching your shit. I'm staying away from it. I don't want to get hit with anything. Have fun, which really sucks.
Ed, just think about, and I realize he's been controversial lately, but there's other examples of it. Think about massive people that do Let's Plays and just shoot games to the top of the charts just because there's been a Let's Play of it. Felix, done. He can't do it anymore. He'll get hit with copyright because he's in the EU. Minx, the RPG Minx, who has at least 1 million subscribers. Pyrocynical, Memulus, and any of the big name people now can get hit with this sort of stuff because everything has anything copyrighted can now be hit. And I mean, something like EA right now, who already has such a negative impression from the fans, say goodbye to the Let's Players in the EU that play your games, your EA games, who is the next big hit to come out. They're gone now. You've lost people with 60 million, 50 million, 20 million, 2 million even subscribers. People with eyes on your content now gone because the EU decided to buck up and act like an idiot.
Well, I do have a question because this is something that hasn't been specified and I haven't seen it around. And so when it comes to Article 13 and 11, does this just fall on content that comes out of the EU, like say for like music or whatnot, or does this also touch the American content? Say for you have like a UK Let's Player and they start showing media out of America, would the EU laws affect the American media, or would the American really media fall under our copyright derivative laws?
Well, it depends on the copyright holder. They could use this particular thing, Articles 13, 11. They could use these as weapons for any EU content creator, which is right now why I will say this, and it's a loophole, but it is technically an effective one. If you are an EU YouTuber right now, just basically turn your channel over to a friend that's an American. Because you don't even have to not stream. You don't have to not make the content you make. What you need to do is say that you're a channel based in America and have somebody in the US who's like, yeah, no, that's one of my channels. Because that is a loophole. It's not a good loophole, but it will protect you from some of this.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you mean, and I know that YouTube allows you to change your country settings. Like when you go to your channel, you can set what country you're technically from and all that. I don't even know how this is going to play out. Let's see. Let's continue on. We're on paragraph 1, sentence 3. Holy crap, they broke down like everything.
The service provider shall provide right holders with adequate information on the functioning and the deployment of the measures, as well as when relevant adequate reporting on the recognition and use of the works and other subject matter. What this means is the proposed measures will require monitoring and filtering of anything that European citizens upload to content sharing services. We're given no clue at all as regards to what a proportionate approach might be. This is probably because it is impossible to implement a disproportionate measure in a proportionate way. The mandatory censorship technology required for this will have to ignore any freedoms to use someone else's creation. For example, for the purposes of quotation, teaching, or parody, as has already been foreseen by the European legislature in the existing exemptions to copyright. Confusingly, the first half of the sentence appears to refer to one technology, upload filtering, with the second half appears to refer to an entirely different technology, statistical reporting.
So pretty much they're saying like the technology, because I was watching a YouTube video earlier today and I watched Computing Forevers, is like with platforms like YouTube. YouTube already has issues with its filtration system, with its YouTube bots. They do not have enough human workers to go through and properly filter everything out. That's why like takedowns, wrongful terminations. So what they're saying is the technology, the filtering system that YouTube would need is just impossible to create, especially with how YouTube already has its crappy system. And that's just one platform. I know Facebook, from what I read, Facebook's going to have to answer to this. Instagram, every social media platform that the EU is able to access right now is going to have to answer to these copyright laws. So, I mean, what does this also mean for blog sites? For people just, talking about stuff on Facebook. Oh, here, I found this article. Oh, okay, cool. So as many people have said, this is way too vague. And I don't even know how the hell they're going to implement this. I know this won't be in effect for another 2 years. And now the states that are part of the EU countries have to pass legislative laws in order to properly implement it and do so in a practical way. But there is no way to do that. There is none.
Well, the important thing to really think about this is them putting it to a vote is that's why we have to get it out so much. That's why we have to tell every person we know in the EU. We have to get as much information out about it as possible. Because when they put it to a vote, it can still be voted down by the people. People that actually care about people.
Yeah.
And by voting down any sort of measure that would implement this correctly, you can cripple it. You just have to stand up and cripple it. I know that this might be a poor analogy, but it's like if you have somebody with a knife trying to attack you, and they are 100% ready to kill you with that knife. You have to disable that. You have to disable either their ability to move or their ability to use the knife. So you break a leg or you break their arm, because then they can't come after you anymore. We right now have a law, Articles 11 and 13, that are attackers with a knife. But the arms are the laws that you allow or do not allow to be passed. So if you are in the EU, stop it. Put a stop to it. Anything you can do. Call your local parliament members. Call your local MPs. Call anybody you can. And if a vote comes up that implements any part of this, strike it down with the hammer of Thor. Slap it silly. Because if you don't, every part of the internet that you have, every part of the internet you care about is dead from that moment. And you have to understand that this includes stuff like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace would even be affected. Any sort of blogging site, any sort of video sharing, any sort of music that you've created. If there's even the slightest possibility that 10 seconds of it is shown up in anything else, it's dead. You cannot allow it to happen, because if you do, you are castrated as content creators. Any sort of artistic expression could be smacked down by tyranny. Because let's be fair. That's what this is. It's absolute tyranny.
Yeah, and I know something else too, because I've seen this floating around too, is the MMPs, I guess, voted and then took a second look as to what they were voting on and didn't realize that they did not want what was in this package. And that's what I keep hearing. I've yet to dig more into that end, but it's just like, how do you guys not pay attention to what you vote on? So, yeah, no, like I said, 2 years, and there could be laws that he could either make or break the passing of Article 13 and completely kill it. I don't know. The EU's got 2 years. The UK, I know they're still doing Brexit. They're trying so hard to get out of stuff, and right now their Prime Minister, whatever the heck her name is, keeps...
Theresa May.
Yeah, she keeps, like, screwing them over, and I just... Because they want to break away from the Union or the EU with some sort of deal, and it's like, no, just cut your losses and go. Because I know that I've read...
No deal Brexit.
Yeah, and it's just like, I understand. Here's the thing. I read a little bit on Brexit or the European Union, and they pretty much have open borders. Anybody's part of the EU, it is open borders for students to study abroad and things like that. And you have the younger generation complaining like, well, what about my school? It's like, you have no idea what's going on. Shh. So I cut my losses and go. It's like, we can still try to save some of these school programs, but it's time for them to go. I just, set up something for people to opportunities. Like, if you want to go study over there, now's the time to go over to that country if you want to go. So I don't know. I'm no politician, but they need to get the heck out, and they have now clock's ticking 2 years to get the heck out before. Oh, it's going to be so freaking bad.
Yeah. I know that occasionally the Europeans aren't 100% great with hearing a quote from the old rebels, but this is something that you need to listen to and actually contemplate. It was something that Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure.
Mm-hmm.
This is tyranny. Cut it down. You have to. You know your own history. This is King George all over again. You've got to put a stop to it, or you will not have freedom. Think of all the things that's going to be combed through by these governmental bodies. I mean, consider the concept. If you have photos of yourself, let alone like dirty photos, that can be looked through at any time, because this includes cloud. That means everything that you have is able to be subpoenaed and observed by the government at any time, which includes, let's say, dirty pictures you sent to your boyfriend last year. Let's say pictures of yourself that are just family, pictures of your children, pictures of anything that you've ever done. If you happen to have a McDonald's logo in the background, you are hit. They can fine you for that because the logo is copyrighted. Literally anything you do near any branded product can be completely taken down. And in the worst part of it, not only that, you can be fined for it. Up to 150,000 pounds for having a Dr. Pepper can in a family photo.
Let's see, I didn't know it was that ridiculous, but yeah, because I heard that this articles 13 and 11 are so vague that people are so confused how these are going to be implemented. I honestly, anyway, I can see this bill dying, or these articles dying in the next 2 years, and then another part of me goes, well, it's the UK, it's the European Union, they've already crossed several boundaries, like the EU, it's been passed in the rumor mill, and some articles that the EU is trying to create their own army, they want their own freaking military. So that's a bit scary, but so it just, this could swing either direction, this really can, and I'm hoping it kind of dies, that the, either new people come into office and go, yeah, we passed this, but we're gonna kill this now, because you guys are stupid.
See, that's the thing, though. It won't die through bureaucracy. There's no way. There's too many people bought and paid for by the EU.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. The people have to be the ones to cut it down. They have to be the ones to stand up and say, we're not gonna be animals anymore. You can't take our rights. You can't be monsters to us just because we're not in office. You have to be the ones to stand up, because if you don't, you're done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, let's see. We have paragraph 2, 3, and then I guess the recitals. There's article 14, recital 39, but let's finish up with paragraph 2 and 3, and then see if there's more that we need to read at the other ones.
All right. Member states shall ensure that the service providers referred to in paragraph 1 put in place complaints and redress mechanisms that are available to users in case of disputes over application of the measures referred to in paragraph. This paragraph recognizes that the unforeseen measures can result in unfair restrictions being imposed on internet users. This is welcome. To offset this damage, the Commission foresees that the service providers should be required to invent some sort of redress mechanisms. However, when the service provider blocks uploads on the basis of alleged breaches of their terms of service, there's no mechanism in EU law, and this proposal does not create such a mechanism, to force them to host content which they do not want to host. In order to avoid legal and bureaucratic burdens, most providers prefer to remove or block content on the basis of their terms of service, not on the basis of the law. This will obviously be easier for companies than trying to implement and interpret the 27 different laws that member states will implement when transposing this directive. Its filtering is not done on the basis of the law, measures referred to in paragraph 1, then the redress mechanism provided for in the law will not be available for individuals. And paragraph 3.
Well,
member states shall...
Hold on.
Oh.
So with this, because I'm trying to understand what this means, because there's a lot of freaking word salad in here. So what they're saying is they want the ISPs to be responsible and have some sort of mechanism in place to prevent uploads. This is the ISPs they want to have done, not the social platforms, but the ISPs themselves. But there would be no backup system in place just in case the system fails or picks up something, or what I guess you could say the term miscategorizes something as copyright.
Well, think about it like this. Rather than YouTube taking down some stream because you use 10 seconds of audio, now you won't even be able to produce that audio. The second you start to put it on, your ISP will be required by law to block it. So instead of YouTube taking it down, imagine Sprint, Comcast, Mediacom, any of the big companies that provide you with your internet service are required by law to censor everything you produce before it even goes on the internet. Hundreds of thousands of articles, photos, videos, music, conversations, radio, anything you want to do that has any basic creative basis will be hit. And it's not even going to be YouTube being able to be blamed, or Facebook, or Twitter, or Instagram, or MySpace, or Blogspot, or fanfiction.net. None of those are the ones that are going to be doing it. It's going to be the company that provides you with internet, basically giving them a sword pointed at your spine, held by one of the most powerful companies you could possibly do. Because guess what? If your ISP is the one doing this, the people that provide you with your internet, you can't fight back. Well, there's no way.
Okay, here's another question. Because, okay, I'm no technician or whatnot. Because there's ISPs, which deals with static IPs and dynamic. There's what about phone companies with their data service? Because they're not technically ISPs. Data is for talking, uploading photos to send us text messages, accessing the internet or GPS on your phone. So does this also apply to phone companies? Because like for me, if my internet is crap, I will use my phone's data to upload a video to YouTube. I've had to do it for a while. So that does apply to phone companies then, and the broadband services.
Well, yeah, it will absolutely apply to the companies too, because your data is in effect an ISP. It does provide internet for you. That's one of the reasons why it's such a problem, is because ISP refers to any such mechanism which allows an individual to access the internet. Well, that's it. That's the only criteria.
Well, see, the reason why I ask that, because it's a little bit different, because when it comes to the phones, like data on the cell towers, is certain phones, say for example, my phone. I have a prepaid phone company, but it's allowed, Verizon allows my phone to access its towers. So, and you can use, depending on what area that you're in, and depending if that phone is allowed to access the towers to the company. So that kind of changes things because depending, I don't know if they're good. That's what I'm asking, like if this applies to broadband. Because say like my phone, I'm nowhere near a Verizon tower, but another tower allows my phone to access data on it. It still counts towards my data usage through my particular phone company, but I'm using a completely different cell tower than that what falls out of my usual allowance. So how are they gonna? That's at that point, it's not an IP address. It's me using a different tower, and I would have to read on it a little bit. Go ahead.
It's covered in paragraph.
What paragraph 3 you said?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's kick over to that then.
Member states shall facilitate, where appropriate, the cooperation between the information society service providers and right holders through stakeholder dialogues to define best practices, such as appropriate and proportionate content recognition technologies, taking into account, among others, the nature of the service, the availability of the technologies, and their effectiveness in light of technological developments. The proposal is about removal of content on the basis of mandatory filtering of user content, even if that content is entirely legal. In the context of this extreme intrusion into their freedom of communication, users are excluded from any dialogue to define any best practice in this globally worst practice of filtering and blocking communications. Software such as content recognition technologies are neither proportionate or disproportionate. The issue is how it is used. Such technologies are also not a practice. The lack of protection for entirely legal use of materials is a clear breach of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. Now, what this means is everything. Let's say that you are on a phone call. That phone call also has to be filtered.
What?
Phone calls, text messages, media messages, anything you do with your data, anything that you do with your phone in general is considered part of a communications content, which means that, yeah, they would also be required to put a filter on your phone calls, meaning there's a possibility of them dropping a call if you're talking about copyrighted material.
Are you shitting me? They're really going that far with this? You can't even censor that stuff. There's no. Well, are you sure about that?
Yes, I'm very sure about it.
That is freaking insane if that's the actual implication.
The implication of it, and that's the terrifying part, is everything you do that could be considered part of the possibility of intellectual property will have to be censored, monitored, and redefined. There's no way around it. For Article 13, Article 11, or Article 19 to work, they have to completely rework everything. The general consensus is you are voting for Big Brother. You want 1984 if you voted for this.
That's ridiculous. You can't filter phone calls. There's no way this bill's gonna freaking survive the next year. It just I don't see how it can. Either certain things are gonna be dropped altogether from falling underneath the articles, or I don't even know how would you filter out a phone call? How would you how? There's no way.
They would have to be monitored, either by a bot or by a person.
Okay. Go ahead and read. I will be right back. The recital 38 or.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, hold on.
Recital 38, where information society service providers store and provide access to the public to copyrighted protected works or other subject matter uploaded by their users, thereby going beyond the mere provision of physical facilities and performing an act of communication to the public. They are obliged to of the European Parliament and of the Council. It's incoherent for the Commission to argue that the services covered by the e-commerce directive giving access to a communication network over which information made available by third parties does not cover the services once used described in the Commission's proposal, where information society service providers store and provide access to the public. Web hosting is a passive activity in the e-commerce directive, and the same activity is redefined as an active communication to the public in Recital 38 of the Copyright Directive, accompanied by a claim that the e-commerce directive remains in force. This means, in essence, if the text is adopted, member states would be obliged by the e-commerce directive to provide a liability exemption for web hosting companies, and at the same time obliged by this directive not to provide an exception. In respect of Article 14, it is necessary to verify whether the service provider plays an active role, including optimizing the presentation of the uploaded works or subject matter or promoting them, irrespective of the nature of the means used therefor. It's a quite blatant contradiction between the assertion in this proposal that active role includes optimizing irrespective of the nature of means that used therefor, and the provisions of e-commerce directive recital 43, which says that the active involvement does not cover manipulations of a technical nature which takes place in the course of the transmissions, as they do not alter the integrity of the information contained in the transmission.
Sorry about that. Had to do a neighborly thing.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So, what'd you leave off of? Did you already go through recitals 38 and all that?
Not all the way. I'm at the third part down.
Okay.
In order to ensure the functioning of any licensing agreement, information society service providers storing and providing access to the public to the large amounts of copyrighted protected works or other subject matter uploaded by their users should take appropriate and proportionate measures to ensure protection of the works or other subject matter, such as implementing effective technologies. This obligation should also apply when the information society service providers are eligible for the liability exemption provided in Article 14 of Directive 2000/31/EC. The Commission says that the measures in the directive do not change the provisions of the e-commerce directive. However, the Commission's proposal radically reinterprets the notion of hosting service, contrary to the approach taken by the Court of Justice of the European Union. An even more obvious contradiction is the Commission's view that the obligation to implement filtering technologies, which creates a general obligation to monitor content, which does not contradict the e-commerce directive, which prohibits the imposition of a general obligation to monitor content.
So in short, like, are they trying to like change the way that material is being hosted
and discussed?
So they're trying to imply a filtering system, or they want one installed, and then they want to change the way that material is hosted and accessed, and oh my gosh. This law is completely insane. Again, there's so many ways of internet communication, digital communication. You can't. It's one thing to crack down on people using your work or misusing your work, but it's another thing entirely to just try to filter everything to prevent copyright. It's freaking ridiculous.
Well, here's another thing that I don't think a lot of YouTubers have really discussed, because I don't think a lot of YouTubers have read the full terms of service agreement. When you upload a video, let's say you upload a 5-minute video where you're just talking about nonsense and it's still all there, YouTube effectively copyrights your material when you post it onto YouTube. So if you take a video you uploaded on YouTube and also upload it to BitChute or another service that hosts your video, YouTube technically has every right to take that down off your own channels on other sites, because they hold partial copyright to everything you put on YouTube.
See, that part I didn't know. I know that you can be partner verified and you can go and copyright strike people who legitimately use your content in the wrong way, but that does require you to dox yourself to that person. This really sucks. I've tried to read up on like Article 13 and 11 so many times before, and even I had a hard time understanding it because it's like, what are you guys trying to implement? What are you guys trying to say with these articles? So, Friday access. Okay, there's like recital 39, collaboration between information society service providers storing and providing access to the public to large amounts of copyrighted protected works or other subject matter uploaded by their users and right holders is essential for the functioning of technologies such as content recognition technologies. The assertion that cooperation is essential for the functioning of identified agreements between badly defined hosting companies and right holders is spurious at best. So are they
Netflix?
Oh.
Yeah, that includes things like Netflix. Let's say at some point, despite the fact that Netflix has purchased the copyright of temporary copyright of any work, if they don't have 100% full copyright to disperse it, any other company can start a legal battle over it. Like, let's say there's a neat Marvel movie on Netflix and you want to watch it. If you're in the EU, there's a good possibility that you just don't get Netflix anymore because Disney owns the rights to Marvel. And we all know that Disney is very, very harsh with its copyright laws, which through the implementation of this, that's probably why Disney is starting their own streaming service in order to circumvent that concept.
Yeah, I did notice that Disney now owns Fox, not as in Fox News, but as in the actual, it's 20th Century Fox. So they now have got Deadpool, they got a whole lot of titles now, and they are trying to circumvent a lot of their stuff from being streamed elsewhere. Like they're now going to have, from what I read, they're going to stream like a lot of the old Disney movies. Like, you guys remember how Disney would release like a movie, one of the classics from the vault, like every 4 to 5 years. Like you have Diamond Edition, special edition, whatever, platinum, whatever. So they're trying to create a streaming service to put all those movies on that streaming service. And from what I read, if I remember this correctly, they want to do away with the vault system. Like they won't be releasing videos from the vault. They're just going to have them on their streaming service. So,
and expect to pay extra for that, like Disney Vault access, that kind of crap.
Yeah. A lot of people, I don't know, with Disney, because this falls into a little bit of it into our political sphere with what Elizabeth Warren wants to do, because she wants to break up like these big companies like Facebook, Google, which I think it's impossible, but at the same time, in a way, I don't ever want to see that crazy woman in office, but in a way I can understand it, because now you have like people like Disney. Disney is a freaking media whore. They have so many companies underneath their wings now. Like I think there's very few stuff that they do not own. I've heard talk about something with Disney and DreamWorks, which would actually scare the shit out of me if they ever obtained DreamWorks. But they've expanded so much, and they now have monopoly that it's anything. This is something I've noticed with Disney over the past few years, and this could be true even further back. Any company, any media company that gets off the ground successful, there some way or another, there's talk of Disney buying them out. And it's actually kind of scary and just like, ooh. So, yeah, that's... this could also... Go ahead.
Get ready for Brazers produced by Disney. It's a porn company. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no, like that's the thing. Eventually, they're gonna even branch out into that. Eventually, you're gonna have Disney, McDonald's, Walmart presents what is it? Cinderella 19, the murder of your childhood.
Yeah, and also something too. I wonder what this does to the public domain, because there's like, if you guys don't know what a public domain is, there's either old stories, old story characters, old names, whatever, that the old companies or whatnot have lost all rights to, that they can't make any money in them or they can't rightfully claim. So a public domain is like, say, for like a character like Robin Hood. Nobody owns the copyright to Robin Hood. Or The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is like an old story, and there's many interpretations, but her character is in the public domain. You can use her, and you can create your own thing and make money off of it. So what is this going to do to the public domain? Because there's properties, stories, characters, whatever, that nobody owns the copyright to. Are those going to be blocked out too? Or are those something going to be shoved under somebody's name?
Most likely, people will start buying up unclaimed properties. That's most likely what's going to
happen. Let's see, is there anything else?
There's 3 more little thingies here.
Okay.
In such cases. The previous sentence does not refer to any cases, so the words in such cases are meaningless. That's self-explanatory. Right holders should provide the necessary data to allow services to identify their content, and the services should be transparent towards right holders with regard to the deployed technologies to allow assessment of their appropriateness. This reference is helpful, albeit to explain a negative element of the proposal. When the Commission refers to the appropriateness of this filtering and blocking in the article, this text makes it clear that it is referring to the commercial interests of the right holders and not the privacy and freedom of communication rights of individuals. Basically meaning that the right holders are the ones that will have access to these very dangerous tools, but the individual will not have rights to these dangerous tools.
Well, how are they going to balance that? Because if the individuals also create copyrighted material, I mean, in a way, you're going to have a copyright battle because there's many individuals who create their own stuff. So therefore, copyright tools, does it depend on like their reputation? Because like you're pretty much saying you're going to give everyone copyright tools because according to, and I know this is American law, anything that you create that is of original design is automatically copyrighted, whether or not you have it registered with a copyright seal. I mean, so how does that like even work? Do you have to register it in order to get access to those tools, or because here in the U.S. Go ahead.
In the EU, you would have to register it for copyright because you would most likely get a packet of communication tools and things for you to read that would tell you how to apply these tools.
And then there is one more.
The services should, in particular, provide right holders with the information on the type of technologies used, the way they are operated, and their success rate for the recognition of right holders' content. Those technologies should also allow right holders to get information from the information society service providers on the use of their content covered by an agreement. This text does not have a great deal of meaning. In particular, content recognition technology would be irrelevant in producing data on the usage of the files, previously identified as owned by particular industry interests. The proposal focuses on technology that would not be useful and avoid mentioning technology for the measuring use of content, which would be helpful for right holders, which means that, like, most of this it's like it's been written by a child who doesn't understand the internet at all. But an important part about this that it says here, warning, this document would be subject to filtering under the Commission's proposal. If you still need proof that the Commission's proposal would limit free speech, how about this? The first page of this document is a remix of the poster from a Woody Allen film. The copyright remains the property of the right holder and could be easily identified by the right holder for deletion. Filtering will inevitably be done under terms of service and not the law, so the content would be blocked. No meaningful right of appeal. Which means there's really no way to appeal these sorts of things.
I said this is a parody of a Woody Allen poster?
Yeah, the very top page with the copyright in the blocks, which means the entire article is completely acceptable for deletion under this act.
Even though, see that, because this is just like this is a design format. This doesn't mention anything of Woody Allen or the work or any of his works. This is just a simple design format.
But because it can be looked at as a parody of the poster, that there is just enough to remove the entire article. Just that little, a PNG of a graphic that's letters and blocks could be removed under this article just because it looks kind of close.
But see, that's garbage because, like, for example, like my stuff, if they're gonna get like that stupid with it, anything like, and I don't know if this is, maybe I'm exaggerating, but like anything, say for example, that comes out of the UA or EU that has like heart shaped, my entire channel can be freaking blacked out because I use a lot of hearts in my design, or even a rose, a freaking. So how? Again,
hey, your channel would be blocked in the EU under this article. For that alone.
Yeah, and my channel doesn't use, like, all my stuff that I have is either my own characters, my own designs. It's no copyright, no actual copyrighted material design wise or stream format wise. So that is like garbage because how. Oh my
Just
God.
because it looks close enough. That's it. That's all that matters is it looks close enough.
Let me touch base with the chat here, then I think I'm gonna kick it over to like a 5-minute break. That's freaking ridiculous because you can't copyright like basic shapes, basic design formats. I mean, because like even with graphic design, because I've touched upon graphic design on my channel, and I'm no professional, mind you, but I've had a couple graphic design jobs. There are basic formats for certain things, like maybe cards, a way to do a specific advertisement, clip art, t-shirt, whatever. So there's basic formats that all graphic designers follow, like, oh my God, or setup.
Consider the concept that most of the text that I use comes from a website called Cool Text Generator. That's completely copyrighted. I wouldn't be able to use Cool Text Generator and work in the EU. It's completely castrated.
Yeah, a lot of the fonts I use are they're royalty free or they're free download fonts. So I don't use any fonts bought or paid for because it's like, well, I'm not paying $30 to use letters for like a word or something. But let's see, I should hop on and make sure Ichabod can't go to the bathroom at the end for an extra hour. Lol.
I can tie rope.
But yeah, no, this is completely off the wall, and something too, we'll touch upon this when we'll get back, but as it's already been stated before, Susan Wojcicki has already threatened to block out the EU, because she said this a while back, is if the article passes, she would block out YouTube from anybody who is in the EU. Anybody who's any country that's a part of it, all those users would get blacklisted because I remember her something saying that they didn't have the resources or money to even screw with any of that filtering stuff. It's just like, I'm just gonna block out these people because I can't restrict, because her first plan was to restrict many people from uploading. It's like, you're gonna kill your platform if you prevent 95% of us from uploading. We make you money, not the other way around. Like, our content like allows the advertisers to advertise their stuff. There's you shoot yourself in the foot. And then she turned around from the backlash and went, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna block people out is what I'm gonna do. So that's kind of a scary thought. But anyway, like I said, we're going to kick over to a 5-minute break if you need to go to the bathroom or whatnot. Again, sorry for getting up and leaving. I had to go neighbors, so I'm going to kick over to intermission, and we'll be back here in the next 5 to 6 minutes. Hey guys, and we are back. So, I have a couple articles that deals with the E13, Article 13. Let me pull one thing up here. Let's see, because it looks like we only got time for like maybe one more article, and then if people want to hop into the hallway, then we can do that. EU passes, copyright law. Okay, let's talk about the memes a little bit, because this is like a big thing going around too. Is a lot of people have jokingly said Article 13 bans memes, which I don't get how you would even be able to do that in the first place, but you know.
Same way that they would be able to hit that article. Because they would be able to, anything that looks visually similar enough to something else would be able to be struck.
Yeah. This is from newsscientist.com. It is in the description underneath the title of the article. Already went over what Article 13 is. Let's see, what does it mean? The EU says the directive about making copyright rules fit for the digital era. To comply with Article 13, platforms such as YouTube and SoundCloud will need to ensure that any copyrighted material on their site is licensed, guaranteeing the original artist receives payment for its use. So you also have to have a license for the content as well. Whether that's purchasing your own personal license. So wow, a license for everything. Golly, EU. Certain services are exempted, including nonprofit encyclopedias like Wikipedia, software development platforms like GitHub, and cloud storage devices or services. So does that mean you can hoard a bunch of copyright stuff on cloud? Oh, you know what also this means too? Okay, if they are literally saying if the service of cloud storage services are exempt, so does that mean, because like such like Pirate Bay, they try to take.
Well,
go ahead.
We actually went through the article. It says that even the cloud storage would be affected by it.
Right. No, that's a PDF, and I just like I said, and this is what confuses me, because you have people saying some stuff yes and other stuff no. So according to this article, again, this would be exempt, but and why do we need it? We don't. Right. Let's see. Rights holders say the rules will put an end to the days of pirating music and video online. Yeah, for the EU maybe, but like I said, when they try to take down Pirate Bay, I think all 4 founders were arrested in a 2-year time span. But Pirate Bay is still up and running because they got other people, and Pirate Bay uses multiple storage services. So, yeah. And ensures artists receives a fair payment for their work. Supporters of the directive include musicians Debbie Harry and Paul McCartney. The rules also intend to challenge the power of tech giants like Google and YouTube, forces them to pay for content they aggregate. However, critics say the opposite is true, with smaller websites most adversely affected by the directive. So YouTube's not going to be forced to pay for shit. YouTube is just going to block out the EU. They don't give a damn. So any content that is from the EU, it's just going to have their access blocked to EU users. We are still going to be access to it for a time, unless that stuff spreads over here. So EU is just kind of screwing themselves over. Again, we talked about earlier how customers are, if they're really going to crack down as to what we explain in the PDF, in that sort of way, they're going to fuck over their market big time and ensure that their material is not going to spread very far. Let's see. Let's see. How does it affect the way I use the internet? Should I be worried? It is platform owners rather than internet users who bear the brunt of these new rules. Bullshit, because it's the internet users too. But they spell the end of some of your favorite content sharing websites. If you own a website or a forum in which people can post text, images, or video clips, you will be responsible for ensuring no unlicensed material appears. For many, it will be easier to pull the plug. And also, let's touch upon that too, because GIFs. There's a lot of GIFs for those of you who aren't aware what GIF is, graphic interface format. It's those little like moving pictures that repeat themselves over and over that you see like on Twitter or in the comment section like Facebook and things like that. Even on Discord, and a lot of them use like movie clips, scenes from movies themselves, cartoon characters, cartoon clips, music, whatever. So those would also go bye-bye. If your GIFs use any copyrighted material, those would also go out the door. So Twitter could be blacked out from EU users as well, because Twitter has their own array of GIFs, movie clips, cartoons, whatever, that they use, that they have installed on their own website to use. So yeah, Twitter would go bye-bye for you guys as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Twitter, Facebook, anywhere that uses GIFs or for the just for the controversy's sake, GIFs. But yeah, no, like it's definitely one of those things that we have to be aware and worried about, because honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to pull a couple of artists in if we know anybody, because that they would also be heavily affected by this, like any kind of artist, like music, drawing, any of that, because like let's look at the artist that I use most of the time for my stuff, Tabby. Tabby does a lot of fan art for oh god, what was it? Shin Megumi Tensei. She does a lot of the Jack Frost stuff, and she does bendy stuff, a lot of those things that technically fall under copyrighted material. Heck, Pokemon occasionally. And that would be completely censored in the EU now.
Yeah. Fan art would be out the door. It'd kill... it actually kill a lot of communities, whether it be derivative works, fan art, fan music. I mean, like, one of the biggest communities I can think of that would really hit bricks is like the brony community, or any fandom or music community, because like there's a lot of singers that I follow that do their own covers of songs or their own derivative, or they use a tune, make up their own lyrics. So those communities would completely be flushed down the toilet without a second thought. Done, gone, you're gone. So DeviantArt might be blocked out too. I mean, I don't know how the other platforms are going to be responding to the Article 13, because they could do the same thing that YouTube is doing and go, we don't got time for this bullshit. We're just going to block these people out. We're not doing this garbage. Goodbye.
Yeah, because of the things like the visual similarity, all your favorite fan art stuff, just say goodbye to it. It's gone if this goes through. If it goes through all the way and the implementation is 100% effective, even 40% effective, you can say goodbye to things like DeviantArt and even like fanfiction.net, because you're still using copyrighted characters.
Oh yeah, that entire site would done.
And even on the more deviant side, stuff like Rule 34, stuff like Overwatch porn videos. There was an article about the other day. God, that was like 2 months ago. The other day. But yeah, no, that all goes goodbye. So that means a lot of, and just for the other deviants who may perhaps be listening, say goodbye to all of your porn sites too, because they'll do this exact same thing. It's sweeping IP bans, and it's just to protect their own companies.
Yeah, again, this is what, because Nintendo, again, we touched upon this earlier in the stream, Nintendo has learned the freaking hard way not to squash. You could pretty much, I know fan service means something completely different, but we're going to nickname it fan service or free advertising. Nintendo has learned the hard way not to squash free advertising because this is how free advertising works. If you have a bunch of fans draw a bunch of artwork, and say, for example, me, I've actually learned to go look for certain media because the artwork caught my attention. It was drawn by an artist I follow or really like, so going, oh my god, what is this from? This is interesting. And lo and behold, I go and find the original stuff and I start watching it. So this is, again, what these big companies are so worried about stuff being shared is like, oh, well, I'm not getting paid because I share it. Here's the reality of it. And this applies to musicians, artists, graphic designers, painters, anybody who works in the art medium, anything. You are not always going to get paid for your stuff being shared. That is unrealistic and in a way selfish, because it's one thing, again, to have somebody use your work to advertise your own stuff and do so in a wrongful way and make money off of it. But when you go as far as to squash your own fans from sharing it and bringing in more fans because you're scared, oh, copyright, you're fucking stupid. They're so focused, so narrow-minded, so tunnel vision, they have no idea what they're about ready to do to their own fucking markets. It's not even funny. What's up?
As a note that I do find very important to point out, this is not like small artists who've made an original creation and somebody steals it and starts using it. That's not what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about the big guys.
You should... Yeah, like if you're sitting there and you're producing art on a daily basis and you made your own original character and somebody starts using it, that's a simple violation of your copyright. You should have every right and tools to implement things that can like prevent somebody from outright stealing your work. But when it comes to this, it's things like even fan art. Let's say somebody sees your character and really likes it, draws you some fan art, and sends it to you, you're liable for that. You can be hit by that. And it's really tough because you as an artist, as individual artists, music creators, art, people that do drawings, people that do digital art, you should be getting paid for your work. We're not making a concept of hashtag for exposure art.
No,
that's not what we're doing.
No, that's not what I even mean.
Like, as a massive company, you've created this intellectual property that has hundreds of characters, and somebody starts drawing fan art of that. Yes, they have drawn fan art of your copyrighted character, but that fan art doesn't so much belong to you. It belongs to the person that drew it, the person who created that artistic work. And there's nothing wrong with that concept, the concept of like making your own artistic works and protecting that. But if somebody draws fan art of it, it's fan art. Like I understand that there's people who try to sneak for exposure commissions all the time, and that's horseshit. But somebody drawing their own fan art using their own talent and their own hands, that's the product of their labor, and they should own rights to that. That's all we're saying with that. Like, so don't think we're sitting here saying hashtag for exposure.
No,
no, as an artist, you should be paid for your work.
Yeah, and then, there's an artist I watch on YouTube, and she's like really exploded. Ponder Sprocket, or Empty Brook as she's known on Twitter. She has like this little, oh god, what video was it in, where it's like this little animation, and she has her character in a classroom, and she has like the various artists she knows and works with and things like that, and they all do digital art, and she has like this little classroom, and she goes over like the different scenarios for exposure art, and she goes, what's the answer? And everybody's like, fuck you, pay me. So it's a funny little thing, and if I find the video, I'll link it later in the description or in a pinned comment. What we're saying is what the EU with Article 13 wants to do is they want to squash any type, we're not talking about copyright stuff, but they want to squash any type of way of sharing fan art or even said work. Say if I really like a video, let's go with another artist I follow. Her name is Daria Cohen. She does a series of vampires. I'm not really into vampires, but I like her stuff. It's of Missia Duke. Say, for example, I really like a video she's done, I like the singing and whatnot, and I link it to somebody else. I could get in trouble if I lived in the EU. I could get in trouble for linking that to somebody else if Daria felt like I violated her copyright. Now, here's something else too. Let me touch upon that as well, because Daria Cohen, I do not know where she lives. If I remember correctly, because she just had a friend visit on one of her streams, I think she's America. Hopefully she is, because she uses music from Voltaire. She will do animations to Voltaire's music, like The Night, and The Land of the Dead, things like that. So her stuff could be blacked out from all of her K viewers as well because of the music she uses. I don't know if Voltaire is UK based or American based, but that's just one example of a user that can completely be blacklisted from the EU altogether. So that's what we're referring to. You couldn't share any works, you couldn't do anything. We're not talking about if you're an artist, yes, you very much need to get paid for your work. But it's just sharing. They're cracking down on sharing in a way to where you would get penalized for even giving a link to somebody in a blog or whatnot.
Chambers, we have Tabby in the hallway.
Tabby! Oh my god. Okay. Let me bring her on.
Alright.
Boop. Let me unmute you. Hold on, Tabby. Okay, you are now live. Hey, you.
Hi. Hee-ho.
So, like, how do you feel about this? Because I don't know. I'm not asking you to dox yourself, but like, are you like UA or USA based, or do you live in the UK or?
Oh, I'm American. I live in America. So this probably, for the most part, won't affect me, but I don't actually know that for sure, since we're talking about the internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think of right off the bat, how this would affect me, is that it might affect anybody who lives in Europe that might want to commission me. They might get in trouble. I don't know.
That is something to think about too, because they would be paying for you to draw like a character already known, either it'd be like Pokemon, MLP, or something like that, and that is, I didn't think about that either. This is going to kill all sorts of communities. This is going to kill a lot of people's work. Like, for example, and I don't even know how the hell they get away with this. Because for me, I will not do fan art for people. You cannot pay me to do it, because I don't even want to get in trouble doing it, and that's just me. I actually had to turn away a commission to do a shipping with two well-known anime characters, and I'm going, nope, I'm not even touching that with a 9-foot pole. You're gonna have to take that to someone else. No, let's say like Etsy. Etsy, Redbubble, Pinterest, a lot of those have fan-made creations. Like, if you look at Etsy, I've seen, like, and you type in the character Maleficent, you will see pillows, you will see paintings, you will see necklaces, you'll see mugs, you'll see all sorts of stuff.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, okay, so I haven't read up on like what Article 13 actually covers, but I don't know if it covers like physical media. So like if somebody like made something by hand, like a costume or something like that, you may not be able to post images of it on the internet, but like you should still be able to sell the piece that you created.
But then you would be using a digital platform to buy copyrighted material that is not owned by the person who made it. So I don't know how that would work either, because it's still an online transaction. You're still accessing something that's been copyrighted that the artist who made it does not own the original copyright, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But like I said, like I don't know what all it covers. Like what would be illegal in the sense, like, if you, like I said, like, if somebody, like, made a costume or something like that, like, would you be able to wear your cosplay costume to a convention? Like, how the hell are conventions gonna work in the UK and things like that?
Well, see, that's another thing, too, because I've been to, like I said, I haven't been to a convention for 8 years, and I've stated that during the Vic Mañana stuff, but, like, conventions, anybody's been to a convention, the anime, comic, whatever, you do have the fan artist who will sell their own copies of the characters that they've drawn. And either because there's all the time, a lot of that stuff is stolen right out from DeviantArt, it does happen, or they will draw their own stuff and they will sell it, but a lot of the time it is their own version of a copyrighted character. So I don't know if that's going to crack down to physical stuff as well. I don't know. Nobody knows, because this law is so freaking vague. And the countries now who are involved in the EU have 2 years to pass legislative law to properly implement this. So I don't even know how it's going to go down. Like the fan sites, like for example, I used to be a real Zelda nut. I used to visit like all the Zelda fan websites. Zelda Wiki, Ganondorf's Dungeon, that's not a sexual site, that's really what it's called. You used to be able to find copies of the Zelda music, a lot of the old artwork, projects that people were doing with the old Zelda characters. So those sites are gonna go bye-bye, or get blocked out. You have the MLP, which has Equestria, which is a fan-made site. So you have all these different sites that all of a sudden have to come under EU. It's like a lot of these are fan sites, and they're either gonna get blacklisted or they're going to just die altogether. And it's just like, there's no way in the 9 hells that you guys can even implement this without killing 95% of the internet. And, not to mention, your own consumer base. Nobody's going to want to touch your shit.
Yeah, it's going to make things very difficult.
Yeah, and they're not thinking. Again, I understand not wanting your work to be associated with certain things, or you want to get paid. But, realistically speaking, you cannot get paid every time your artwork is shared with somebody. It is not realistic. I'm not saying that you don't deserve to get paid for your work, which I'm not, the free exposure shit, I think is horse crap, but go ahead.
Okay, so as far as sharing is concerned, I mean, personally, if somebody shared my artwork, I wouldn't care as long as they don't go around saying that they made it and aren't making a profit out of it.
Right.
By all means, like, anything that I've just posted willy-nilly, just kind of, like, just to share already, like, me posting my fan art of, like, Shin Megami Tensei, Jack Frost, and whatever, me posting that on the internet, I'm not charging anybody to look at it, so why would I charge anybody to share it? The problem I would have is if somebody took any of my artwork, whether it's original or fan art, putting it on some sort of website like Etsy or Redbubble or Teespring, you know, things where they would print it on some sort of merchandise and then making a profit off of it, then I would have an issue. Yeah. And I'd be seeking royalties and shit. It's like, no.
I don't ever make any profit. What now?
Well, that's something too that someone brought up. What's his face? John Doe. There's copyright, and then there's also trademark. Because I get the two mixed up. Let's see, a trademark is a recognizable sign, design, or expression which identifies products or services of a particular source from those of others. All the trademarks used to identify services are usually called service marks. So that is something too. Like, what are they going to do? It's trade, because so far Article 13 is all about copyright. I haven't seen anything mentioned of trademark. Trademark is, say, for example, my logo. That's a trademark. Or my brand, or if you see it, you know it's me. McDonald's, the freaking yellow M. If you see that particular M, that's McDonald's. You know, oh, that's McDonald's, or the Carl's Jr. Star, or the red Target, or...
Well, here's the problem with that. Yes, those are trademarked, but a lot of those logos are also copyrighted. They don't necessarily... like, anything you create is immediately trademarked because you've made it. But... when it goes to, you take that into a copyright office, pay money, and implement that as a copyrighted work, then it becomes copyrighted and trademarked. Basically, trademark is the first step in getting something copyrighted.
Yeah. So, I wonder how that ties into it as well. I don't... golly, there's so much reaches because, like... I know they're trying to squash, they really, I know there's a big thing about, like, the memes, and we went over how a lot of memes use video clips or clips from videos, video games, quotes, whatever. So, how the fuck are they even going to try to implement this? Like I said, we have 2 years to see the laws come out of the EU countries. And it's like, you guys are not going to be able to enforce this. So, it's either you're going to get blacklisted from a lot of services, or this bill's going to die. And I can honestly see the bill dying in the next 2 years, or certain services be exempted from it, hopefully.
It's hard to tell right now.
Yeah, it is. And again, the big companies, because they name drop 2 artists, 2 musicians, is like, well, Paul McCartney is behind this, or the other person is behind this. Like, you guys have no idea what you are doing. You're not looking at this at the other side of the fence. You're just thinking about, oh, well, I'm not getting my money because my music is on this website. I'm not getting paid for it. Fuck you. I'm sorry, but fuck you. If you're so, like I said, it is one thing if someone check, for example, if my brand is trademarked, but technically speaking, like my white spade is not copyrighted by the U.S. registry, right? Because there is a registry of all the copyrighted works, and you have to pay a lot of money to have put in. It is a type of government site, but anyway, so say if my stuff was officially copyrighted by U.S. registry, and someone decided to take my logo and go, well, here, it represents this, and I go, no, fuck you, you have 24 hours to remove that before I come after your ass and sue you, because you are misrepresenting my brand by using my logo, which doesn't stand for that, thank you. So that is one example, but if somebody just shared it, or which people have, I don't care, they're not making money off of it, I swear to God, it is so... I can see this as a money-hungry thing, and then a censor thing. Because, again, people make parodies, and certain people don't want their works associated with certain movements. Like, you have example, Pepe the Frog. You have the graphic designer or the illustrator, which I think he's a freaking idiot. Because I understand Pepe the Frog got associated, first it was like with 4chan, Kakistan, and then you had people who did escalate it into legit white supremacy and white nationalism, because there's that side of 8chan and 4chan and Poll that does talk about that, and because I've seen it, and it's been shown.
Not poking the boards.
No, I'm just
not poking the board.
I'm just saying, but overall, so Pepe has been associated with all different things, and the artist has tried to come out and copyright strike every single website that uses Pepe, and it's just like, you can't, when you have a symbol like that or a character that is so massively spread that you don't even know where the origin is at anymore, and then you try to go and you kill off a character, everybody's gonna turn around and go, fuck you, because this is not how this stuff works. So I don't know. I would be pissed if someone took my logo, say for example, I'm not trying to go down a dark road, but like Miss Misa. Miss Misa had a particular art piece where she had a rainbow in the background and she had a heart. She drew this during a stream that she was talking, and you had Heart Progress, of all people, go and take that particular photo and use it to advertise like Nambla and all that nasty shit. And she went, I don't think so. So that would be messed up. But at the same time, I don't know. This stuff is so tricky. I mean, it's already busted. We already have so many people going to court, either copying each other or because of derivative works. Now we have a more fucked up system that it's just like, you can't even implement this without screwing over a lot of people. There's no way.
Yeah.
Let's think about it
this
like
whole
this.
thing is a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately. Let's think about it like this. Just as an example from my stuff, the artistic pieces done by other artists, I assert that they still hold a trademark to them, and that's me personally. Despite the fact that I may have paid for the artistic piece or not, it still belongs to the people that made it, because without that art, my channel couldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be what it is now. However, when it comes to, let's say, somebody else doing an artistic piece, let's say with the Optic Decay, he did a version of Ichabod, the raccoon, having his genitals stepped on by Opal.
Oh, Jesus.
Whether or not that is, despite the fact that it's absolutely hilarious, regardless, under EU law, that would technically be available to be hit by this. But as basically the rights holder, I wouldn't do crap about it. But the fact of the matter is, if I were a large company and the Ichabod brand were gigantic, and it wasn't me, that would be something that could be attacked under it. Just a simple piece of art that depicts the character. And that's where we run into these massive issues, because like I said, with what Tabby does, the Jack Frost, if she was in the EU, her fan art could be flagged by this, could be hit by it.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes digital products, stuff like, let's say, a pillow with Maleficent on it on freaking Etsy. If the seller is in the EU, yes, they can absolutely be hit by it. And that's the major problem. Like, even something so simple as like the golden arches for McDonald's, the Dr. Pepper logo, just the artistic design itself. Let's say you take the Dr. Pepper logo and make it, I don't know, Dr. Demento, something like that. That's a really old reference, and I'm showing my age with that. But if you made a Dr. Demento, that little text thing could still be hit, because it's still visually similar enough to be hit by it. And that's where the problem really does lie, because you're going to be losing fan art. You're going to be losing family photos that just have the images in the background. And when it comes down to it, it's unsustainable on a massive scale. And either they're going to kill it before it gets implemented, or it's going to be implemented so heavily that it's going to put such pressure on the public that they're going to bail. The EU, thankfully, right now isn't China. They're not ready to accept that level of censorship. And if they do, it's over for them. And that's why, if you are in the EU, you have the opportunity, get out while you can. Please, for your own sake. I don't care what country you go to, just get out of the EU.
Well, like I said, the UK's been trying, and sorry for getting up again of a cat tearing around my house. But yeah, no, the UK's been trying, but you have Theresa May, of course, like, trying to keep them in with the deal. It's like, no, just cut and go. And the fact that there's so much wrong when you have a company, or not a company, a country that invested or that entangled with another country to where you can't just separate and leave. No. And Miss Steam is in the hallway, so I'm going to bring her in. But yeah, there's been talks of other people wanting to leave the EU. France would have left, or signed to left, if I believe her name is Le Pen, got elected. And that was a, what would we consider a Republican or conservative presidential candidate. But Macron got elected instead, and he's a bit of a doof. So, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Steam.
Hi.
So, what do you... Aren't you UK based?
Yeah, I'm UK based.
Oh, shit. So, like... Ooh, see, that scares me.
I found a way around it. Basically, my channel to Ichabod, and I give my other social media to Arcata. I'm exempt from the Article 13 law because technically I would just be an actor. I wouldn't actually be.
Yeah,
liable
she's
for
now
the stuff.
technically a US based company.
So that's one way around it. I would like to just keep my own stuff, really, but I have no choice.
Yeah, and see, because like there's quite a few of UK content creators that I follow, or not UK, but technically EU. You have Computing Forever. You have Irate Bear or Alex. You have Cognitive Thought. Who else is a part of the EU? I don't think Germany's not a part of the EU. Wait, is Germany a part of the EU?
Yes, I believe they are.
Yeah, they are.
Oh my god! So you have another content user. His name is, their name is Chippin Flakes. They're like a little black, a white cat with like brown paws. So you have that creator. Who else do you have? No, the Beard Baron lives like, huh?
Kameha.
Oh yes, Omegon. And he uses a character, a Cthulhu-based character as well.
It's his art. Well, it's his artwork, so.
Well,
And it's
it's
stylized to a point where it's actually his and not just.
yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Who else do we know that's UK-based? Drunken Uncle. He could be blacklisted or blocked out. God, who else? There, huh?
Alright, Bear.
Oh no, I already mentioned him. And then like, let's go over to like the. Oh no, you're fine. Like the even the cooking channels. The cooking channels. I think who is it? Barry's Virgin Kitchen. Because he does a lot of unboxing of kitchen gadgets. So any company that owns those gadgets could come in and go, we don't want you showing our stuff. Goodbye. So Barry's Virgin Kitchen. You have, I believe she's UK. How to cook that. And then you have another one who I think is Australia based. I follow so many people, and a lot of them are overseas. So it's just like a lot of the content, I wouldn't have access to that content anymore either. And I watch a lot of freaking people. So that would suck as well. It'd kill the platform. Kill a lot of platforms. So it'd affect the cooking channels, the crafting channels, because if if product was shown, EU could go, oh well, you're showing a copyrighted brand or whatever, and so your video is completely blacklisted. Just like that. That's so freaking stupid. I freaking hate the stupidity of people. It's all the wrong people with money and power. Like I said, this is a censorship thing and a money grab thing. Golly, who else? Crafters, musicians, freaking doll repainters. You have a lot of crafting people who repaint dolls. So any of the toys are UK based or EU based. Heck, the people who do reviews on candy. You have a lot of people who order stuff from overseas, from like UK, Japan, China, whatever. And so under the EU, they couldn't do that anymore because they're showing the wrapper, because they're showing what brand or the logo. So those could go out the door too. I mean, God, you just have so much garbage. I watch another channel. It's called How to Drink, and he makes different cocktails and alcoholic beverages that he's learned either from around the world or whatnot, and that could be blacklisted because the damn logo's on the bottles. Because he has his setup, he has some rum here, some vodka, and things like that. So you can have all that, get his channel entire thing blacklisted just because the label's on the bottles.
And that, unfortunately, will be left up to the owners of the companies. There's a lot of companies that won't take advantage of this, but there are some that will make it very problematic for channels that do reviews, channels that do fan art, channels that do Let's Plays, all of that. And these very select this group of companies could cripple so many things, and it would be very, very dangerous. It's a shit show.
Well, here's something too, is because I wonder if the copyright holder, the original owner, even has to put anything in for the EU to act. As like, for example, we'll take YouTube's bot system, for example, is you have certain people that won't hit copyright on others, but someone else will come in and claim, oh, hey, this is my material, when technically it's not. So will the EU act regardless of the whether or not the original copyright holder puts in that claim? So that's something to consider too.
It probably would, actually. The EU isn't... let's face it.
We lost Tabby.
The EU is modern day Nazism. Modern day Nazism.
There you go, Tabby.
That's tyranny.
I broke.
It's alright. Could be Discord being a potato.
This is the exact same tactics the Nazis fucking used.
And the commies.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a censorship, and like I'm not like again not trying to bring up the incident that happened in New Zealand. People are calling it a hoax or whatnot, and I haven't read enough, and I didn't even watch the video. But guess what they're doing over there? And they're going full 1984, where they're blocking out certain websites. They don't fall. I don't think New Zealand is under the EU, but because of the shooter, the person, because of the media he followed, any media, including his manifesto, has been blacklisted. It's not the Kiwis, I think that's what they're nicknamed, are not allowed to access 4chan, Kiwi Farms, Poll, like Suit Yourself. I think some of the sites were even getting blacklisted in Australia because he even did a video of how to circumvent that. And they're going full 1984. There's like, well, okay, this is harmful, so none of you get access to it. The fuck? So, yeah, no, it's freaking scary, man. A lot of people are about ready to go 1984.
The government's basically backed me into a corner, things in my real life and then things online. I've basically been backed into a corner, and I am very close to lashing out.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a quote from the manifesto or something?
No, it's not a quote from the manifesto. It's just the truth.
Well,
I've been backed into a corner online and in real life because of government's bureaucracy, and I don't have a lot of options left, so I'm acting like a dying wild animal at this point.
It's getting scary, and just a lot of people, and I'm not trying to say which country's better, I'm not going to do that, but a lot of people, and I'm getting a little political, a lot of people like to shit talk a lot of some of the U.S. politicians, Trump included, and go, well, he's this or they're that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, these people that are in place right now, hashtag not all, because a lot of them are freaking stupid. Ocasio-Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez. God, I swear to God, she's a plant. But anyway, is the people that are in place, including Trump, are preventing this crap from creeping over to the U.S. Because let's just look at a lot of stuff. The UK wants to leave the EU for particular reasons. money, being over-culturalized. You have Con, which is the mayor of London, allowing all this garbage to happen with their citizens, and they're taking butter knives from people, for God's sakes. Freaking kitchen utensils. Oh, well, we got these off the street. No, you didn't do shit, dipshits. But anyway, that's just a perfect example of the culture change and be allowed to change because they open borders and things like that. When here in America, we have people's like, we'll freaking shoot you if you come over here and invade our land. We're not fucking around. So a lot of these countries, a lot of these laws that are coming to place is because the culture has been allowed to change. A lot of people have been bought and paid for, as we've talked about, and anything that keeps them in power, they're going to do. Which is really scary, and this involves the censorship stuff. Anything that goes against their narrative or keeps people from investigating for themselves, they're going to block out. Thank God that it's not come up to the US, because the day that does, we're so fucked. You think it's scary now? Go ahead.
I don't know, and they said, coming from the other side, can't hear you. Basically saying, I think they're saying my audio's...
Your audio's coming through. I think they're just talking about coming from the other side, like, from the EU.
Oh, right, my bad, sorry.
So, are we ready for me to get heated?
That's fine.
Boy.
We got 8 minutes left. Go for it.
All right. So, like I had told Chambers before we started today, I've got a little bit of a beef with this concept, and here is the crux of the argument. Articles 11 and 13 are so damaging to the freedom of the right of expression, the very basic fundamental right to speak your mind without being harmed for doing so by governmental influence. I'm not a man to make an ANCAP argument, but this is government at its core. Censorship, anger, and hate for the average person. The hate that you are experiencing in the EU now is so fundamentally unjust that it is akin to the kings of before in the times of the Revolutionary War. You cannot allow this to happen. If you are in the EU, you have reached a point. It is the make or break decision of your country. Brexit is on the table right now. No deal may be the best deal for you. And if push comes to shove, you need to access every available opportunity you can to put the bolts onto this and bolt down your freedom, because you are about to lose it. You're about to lose not only everything you have ever cared about, but the freedom to make new memories. The freedom to be a person and a human being. It's time. It's time to stop acting like animals corralled into the slaughterhouse. It's over. You have to put a stop to it. There are people out there losing their minds over this. There are people out there committing the worst of acts over something so fundamentally stupid and foolish. And you have to actually act. You have reached a point where the EU has become a tyrannical rule. You must step to a tyrant before he can gain the power to overrule everything. You have the opportunity, you have the chance, you have the time. Take it while it's there. The opportunity is on the table. You need to grab it before it's taken away and thrown into the garbage with your freedom and your right to be a human being. It's over for you if you let this pass. It is only the first nail in your coffin, and you need to stop it before you are nailed inside. Oppression may still exist everywhere else in the world, but the EU has not been fully brought to heel. Do not let them step on you. Do not let them tread on you. Do not let this continue, because you have been whipped for too long by kings and tyrants and parliament. The bureaucracy of the European Parliament is ridiculous. The bureaucracy of the EU is ridiculous. And it has become time for you to step out of the heels of your oppressors. The jackboots have to be pulled from your neck, because if you don't do it now, you will never have the opportunity again. You'll be brought down and tugged under. It'll be Sharia law based on the EU, and you cannot have that. We have seen its effects around the world. We've seen it too many times. And if you don't step up, you're down permanently. There's nothing else you can do because the ability to speak out will be taken from you. You will not be able to speak out against 1,000 new laws that can rip your basic freedoms from your body. It's time to stop. It's time to put an end to it. You have the chance. Cripple it and throw it in the garbage right where it belongs. Because if you don't, I'm sorry. Because you have become so deluded and so naive that you would allow Nazis, actual Nazis, to return, and not only small, in force. You don't have that chance. You need to stop it, and you need to stop it now.
Yeah, and see, that's what the scary thing is, too, because, like, here's, take, for example, Germany. Germany has allowed themselves to get whipped because of their history with the Holocaust and World War I, World War II, and it's just, you know, the past, you guys need to forget about all that, because if you allow, because a lot of countries do allow their past dealings to get in the way. And so, oh, well, we don't want to return to that. And it's just like, you know what? I'm not, like, vouching for the Nazis. What they did was horrific. And yes, the Holocaust did happen, because I know that there's freaking conspiracy theories. Oh, it's all made up. Shut the fuck, get out of here. But if anything, I think a part of old, like, this is just for example of Germany, I think an old part of Germany, the UK, needs to come back, because those people, as, like, fucked up as they were back then, were scary as shit to try to step on Russia right now. And I'm not a fan of Putin or whatnot. There's a lot of, like, screwed up shit that he's allowing in his country, and I've touched upon it here and there on my channel. But he don't take no fucking shit. There's a reason why Russia is so hated right now, is because he tells people no. He tells people to fuck off. There's a reason why people hate Trump, because Trump people tells people, no, fuck you, we're not doing this does not work. Like, for example, his national emergency declaration. Congress tried to overturn his vote. He said, fuck you, no veto. And then they tried to turn on do the same thing, and there wasn't enough votes to stop the veto from going through. So it's just like, no, fuck you. That's why a lot of people hate him. So we need more people to go, no, fuck you, sit down, shut up. You don't, and I'm not trying to sound xenophobic. I have nothing against legal immigration, okay? I have nothing against immigrants if you come here legally or you go to other countries legally and you assimilate. But we need more people to say, fuck you. You either sit down, shut the fuck up, or get the hell out. And if not, we'll make you get the hell out. So we need more of those people. But as I said, like Germany, the EU has lost their freaking minds and their damn spine. Our country, thankfully, the US, a lot of people have not. And that's why we're still kind of standing the way that we are. As screwed up as our history is, we still can say, yeah, we have a spine and we're telling you no. If it's not our politicians, it's our citizens. So when we left the UK, America, when it was first born as a nation, and we have our own bloody history and fucked up past and things like that, it happens. Everybody has their own history of dominating other cultures. Can't change that, can't reverse that. It is what it is, accept it, or I don't know, go find a hole and cope. I don't know. But like when we left the UK, we institutionalized a constitution and a set of rules that said, we do not want this to happen ever again to us. Here's our declaration. A lot of countries need to take note of, I'm not saying our country's better, but need to take note of what we did, because it speaks volumes. There's smaller countries that have gone and done the same thing, going, yeah, no, fuck you. Here's our declaration. This is never going to happen to us again. It seems like the tyrants have turned into the whipped dogs, and it's just now getting reversed. And it's just like, there needs to be a balance now. Please do so. I don't know. It's scary. I'm thankful to live in the U.S. I really am, because what I'm seeing happen around in the other countries is just, I can't even wrap my brain around it. I really can't. It's scary as hell.
Yeah.
And what the bad thing is too is like, for example, this has to do with another topic. But what we're seeing happen in Canada with particular aspects of society is now starting to creep down here. And that's what the scary thing is like, it's like a disease. As somebody mentioned in the comments, like in regards to like the EU, that a lot of stuff was forewarned before the EU was formed, or at the beginning of the formation of the EU. A lot of people warned, no, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Don't do this. Don't do it. But now when you let certain things creep in, it kind of spreads out and fans everywhere. So hopefully people have brain enough to go, we're not going to let this spread, we're going to kill it. But yeah, when you have a culture change, because that is part of it too, when you have a culture change, you have a set of laws put in that just fuck everybody over. At that point, no one gives a damn. And that's what we're seeing happen in the EU, Europe. God, it scares me to think that crap's going to come over here. Because it eventually will. It always does. So.
Yeah. Just scary.
But like I said, we're going to wrap it up here. For those of you who are not able to tell who came on, like I said, once again, the OBS stream kit, their server's all messed up. So it's not my internet, it's the damn server. We had Tabby Wesa. You want to check her if you like her artwork or whatnot. She's a little orange cat in the golden heart. You can find her stuff, her information in the description. Ichabod Orange, find his stuff in the description below. Mrs. Steam, we had Mrs. Steam on again. She's starting to be a constant visitor. But yeah, you guys have a good night and keep an eye on this, because hopefully with some luck over the next 1 to 2 years, this could be crippled. But again, it's the EU. This will tie into Brexit. Make or break. But yeah. And we didn't even touch about what YouTube might even do with this, so keep an eye on what YouTube does as well, because Susan Wojcicki, Google is going to be forced, as laws come out from the EU, because they will, Susan and Google are going to have to, you're going to see some really weird changes of YouTube. I'm calling it right now. You're going to see some weird shit on this platform, and this platform is messed up already as it is. So, my advice to people, because this is just me, you can even take it or break it, if you're able to, get the fuck away from copyrighted content. Would be music, artwork, everything original, whether you pay a artist to do original artwork. If you try to get more original, because there's a good chance that this is going to get full blown and you can lose a lot of your viewers. If this goes through the way that it's being implemented, I'm going to lose a lot of my viewers and subscribers. I have a few people who have identified themselves as UK based or EU based, and that, yeah. So take it or leave it. It's up to you what you want to do with that. But yeah, you guys have a good
VPN.
Well, yeah, as long as that's not touched. But you know, it's the EU. They're gonna attack anything that, you know, gets in the way of their money and power.
Yeah.
But you guys have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one.